Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. Akitri, good morning. How you doing, Jan? Speedy, how you doing, my friend? Okay, so it is Friday the 20th of September. Okay, so a bit of an odd day yesterday. It's been it's been an odd week, actually, for me, but you know the story. You've been there yourselves. You know what it's like. You just got to get up, brush yourself off, and carry on. So, strange day yesterday, one I've not quite experienced before. Now, that trade I took, as we know, turned out there was a bigger channel in the end. I think it was my patience that got the better of me there. I don't think I would have normally taken a trade like that. But I think because of the frustration from the day before, sometimes I think when we have that a bad day, it can last with us for a while. And I look back on that trade, and I normally wouldn't have taken that, and that kind of just frustrates me a little bit. But there you go, it happens. Now, unfortunately, the trade was a $400 risk, but because of that, such a quick movement up, it turned into a $6 to $625. So it was an extra 50% loss. I've only experienced that once before trading outside the news, where a 4 point is, I've lost an extra 2 points. So it's a bit unusual that it doesn't happen often. And what I made, no, it doesn't matter. It's all right. I was thinking of something different there, but no. So it's just one of those things. So you've just got to get on with it. But I have my account set to one trade loss, and I can't trade them again. So hopefully that will solve. Well, it will. It'll stop anything from catastrophic happening. If the most I can lose on these accounts is one trade, the losses should be kept to a minimum. Now, I wanted to have a chat with some of you guys later, you Guardian Angel trader guys, and there's just one setting I could do with a little bit of a hand with. There is a setting in Guardian Angel Trader. I can't show you now. Actually, I can. If I open up a sim, so if I get Guardian Angel Trader open, where is it? I can open a sim. I can show you what I mean. So there is in the settings here, lock stop orders. Now, I'm not quite sure how that works. Now, I'm assuming what I do know about it is if your stop's here and profit's down here, you can move it towards the price and secure profit. But I don't know whether you can move it away, because a lot of the times, I mean, I have if you look, my ATM strategy, I have set to 3 points. Where's it disappeared to now? I have it set to 3 points. So if it's a 3 1/4 point or a 3.5 point risk, I've got to move it in the opposite direction. So I don't know whether it'll allow for that. That's interesting. There's a higher low there, but there's support there. So let's just move this out of the way a minute. So I think it's maybe a bit risky taking that. It could get 1, 2. It could get a triple test. I'm a bit unsure. We had the same. I took a very similar trade a few days ago. FOMCD, and I took a high at long, triggered me and came down and cleared out loads of stops. So. And we had the same sort of thing, 3 bounces. So I'm just sitting tight anyway at the moment. Top width was large on my chart. Yeah, I haven't reloaded this, so let's just reload it. But look, I had a good conversation with my wife last night about trading and about this and about that. She doesn't like to see me do bad. There is possibly failure there, but the simple thing is, the simple objective I have in a day is to sit here patiently and wait for a trade. Now, if I took one trade a day, that would be great. If I could find one good setup a day, but ultimately I go for a flat 3 points now, which based on 2 contracts is $300. If I could find 2 good setups per week, that's $600 minus fees. That's over $2,000 a month. That would be a perfect scenario for me. Just 2 trades. And I believe if you sit patiently and wait for the best of the best, There's no reason why you can't have a 90% win rate. That's based on finding those. Now, sometimes your patience might get the better of you, and that obviously would alter, but it's not. That is in the gap manual. Okay, I'll have a look at that later. Lock stop orders, checking this option as the stop. Hey Zen, how you doing, buddy? We had a chat over the weekend, didn't we? All stop orders will be locked. You will not be able to move it. You will not be able to move it against you. You can only move it in your favour. Okay. So the downside to that, well, the way I can mitigate that is to maybe give a 5-point stop or a 6-point stop and then move it in the direction. So it'd be nice to get your opinion on that. What would you do? Now, I have been known on occasion to move my stop. Now, if I can only take one loss a day and it stops me from trading, theoretically, there's nothing stopping me from moving my stop. And I have been known on occasion to do that. So you have a 98% win rate, and I do exactly that. 30 on winners or losers so far. 30 winners to 1 loser so far. 30. You got £30 there, bud. I think you put something wrong there. 98% win. Yeah, if you wait for the best of the best, 30 winners got you. That's really good, that is. That's good. I'll tell you something, and I genuinely mean this. I know it may sound a bit odd. I swear on my daughter's life, I think it was 24 winners once. And I swear on my daughter's life, I'll say 24. It was either 24 or 27. Now, there was a couple that I got in that got out for $50 because price moved back towards me, but all of them would have won. Now, I know that sounds a bit far-fetched, and I would agree in this day and age because I don't get anywhere near that now, but there was a lot more setups there. So what I find is as I see a lot of these traders, experienced traders on YouTube saying you need to wait for the best of best. Now, do I wait for... We all know what a great trade is. If you get a perfect, let's say, for instance, you get a perfect channel and a perfect 2 legs up, the bearish bar is right under that EMA, it looks beautiful, plenty of space to the lows. Those trades, in my opinion, just do not fail. And there is no reason why you can't win 90%. And so I think what I need to do is leave out the this doesn't look too bad type of trade. Now, that trade I took yesterday, it was a perfect lower high, but the context was wrong. I initially looked at that. Now, I've been accused in the past of making bigger channels too soon. And yesterday I didn't do that. I stuck to the smaller channel and we had a break and a lower high and it come back to bite me. So I think it's just experience. That was a bit of an unusual trade yesterday that caught me out, but you do learn from them. And I will remember in the future from now on, and sometimes it takes it to happen a few times. If I'm going to take a trade like that on a reversal pattern, I need to wait for it close comfortably below the EMA. And even if anything, trapping the longs. In other words, saying we're not going long anymore, we're moving down. So that's what I need to do. There is a possible second entry long here. But if I don't think it's a great trade, I think I should just leave it. Now, if I have one trade on 2 days and blank for 3 days, ordinarily I've been thinking I need to find something where I shouldn't be really. And if I take great setups, realistically, they should make easily 3 points. We've got a push up with a break and a new high. There is a second entry long here, but it's a little bit congested. So I'm just going to I'm going to talk and sit tight a minute. I think it'll probably help me anyway. A little bit more talking and less trading at the moment. So, Chad, I like the idea about only taking the best of the best. My problem is when I lose a trade, I wait all day, and it's a loser. I am more likely to get tilted. Yeah. I'll tell you something, Chad. I think we're all a lot more like than we realise. You know, we all have our own journey on our own stories, but I think all our stories and our journey interlink about 98% of the time. So exactly the same that you're feeling, I feel the same, but you can't get inside someone's head really and see exactly how they feel. Do you know what I mean? Glad I didn't take that, although it's safe at the moment. And you may trap some shorts there. In fact, you probably are. That's technically a higher low, isn't it? Liquidity. Just have a look a minute. We're kind of testing something now. Let's just stay out of this at the moment, because this is not what I call the best of the best scenario, is it? It's a bit congested. It's under that line. So there we go. There's a failure there. Now this is probably going to come down here. There does seem to be a range there, doesn't there? So there is a failure there. It would probably work, but what's wrong with that? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 bars side by side. And it's not a brilliant bar, so I would call that maybe 6.5 or 7 out of 10. Now, is it going to work? Probably. But it's clearly congested a bit there, isn't it? So that, to me, wouldn't be the best of the best. And that's what I need to filter out. Now, it is a failure. Now, these trades that I see like that probably work 70% of the time. Maybe a little bit less. But I mean, it clearly worked now. Am I the type of person that wants a 70% win rate? Now, if I was patient and could take the losses and move on, I'd say, yeah, take those trades. But if I really struggle with losses, I need to think about taking the best of the best. So, I mean, it's one of those things, that one, isn't it? It is a failure, but we got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 bars there congested. So you have to say it's a little congested, which lowers the risk. 1 trade a day. So let me just go through some of these. I'll go a whole week without taking a trade if I'm not confident in the setup. I think that comment deserves a gold star there, mate, because I think you're absolutely right, blue collar. I think constantly, don't you? And I think that's just the way it is. So I really was eager to take that second entry long here. Yeah, see how these things can mess you around. It's very easy, isn't it? It is a second entry long, but it triggered and that. So the reason stopping me going long there, I think, is because we have looked like a range and that could break out, could fail. So it may work and it may not. So that is one of those ones that there's a little bit of maybe a little bit, let's not call it a gamble, let's call it a little bit hit and miss. Let's put that right so it locks everything off. Now, the failure. So let's say quickly, we'll have a few more comments in a minute. Let's say, what are the pros and cons for that? It is a little congested, but it is a failure, and it is closing below that line. Is that a fantastic looking trade? No. Now, I'm thinking it crosses over, it pushes up, and it comes back, and it pushes up and it crosses over, and eventually. So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 congested here. Now, the bit that's going for it is the R under the EMA, but it is not what I would call, so my bias is short, yeah. So it's not what I would call a great trade, a great setup. And it's one of those ones which will probably work 70% of the time. But I really think I should avoid those because I still struggle with a loss. And that's the problem with that. That's the problem with that trade. That is one that, now sometimes when your patients go, it's very easy to get suckered into trades like that. And yes, sometimes they'll win. But it's not a 90, 95% trade, that, in my opinion. It's about a 70%. Now, if you could play the numbers and you could trade like a robot, that still would be worth taking. But I think you've got to look at your strengths and weaknesses of an individual. And I have some strengths. I think my chart reading's okay. I think my trade choice is okay, but I have some weaknesses where my patience can go a little bit, and I can get into... It's weird, I can have the best patience in the world sometimes and the discipline of a king, but it seems to be a little bit inconsistent. Now, from what I can gather, I think that's pretty common, and I think that will improve with time. So what I need to do is sit there and think, all I really need to do to make a ton of money is take 2 great trades a week. Now, if someone put a gun to your head and say, right, the next trade you take, if it's a winner, you get to live the rest of your life, I'd say there's a 99%, 98% chance you're going to get a winner, because even if it means you sit there for 2 weeks. So the great trades, the really good setups are out there. They do happen. And I'd say they certainly happen more than twice a week. So my goal really to earn a decent amount of money is only to identify and take and fully commit 2 good trades a week. Great trades go for way more than 3 points. So that is my plan of action. That's what I need to do. Sit back and wait. And if it means I've got to not trade for 3 days, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. What's important is what you do over a month, not what you do in a day. So if I don't have a trade today, it doesn't mean I'm not on par to, so let's have a few more comments. You're going to take, yeah, but congested, yeah. God, my 2 points today. Might call it a day. Sensible move, that Speedy lad. 1 trade a day works as well. Do you know, I had a guy called Joe phone me up about 2 years ago. Just phoned me up out of the blue from the US. And I had a good chat with him, and he suggested I go for 1 trade a day. And in all fairness, I enjoyed the chat with him, but I didn't listen to him. And he said it helped in his discipline. It helped to give him self-control. Now, I'm sure he did it out of his own discipline, and I've got the luxury of having Guardian Angel traded, but it's weird how you don't listen to some people, and at some time in the future you think, maybe I should have listened to him. You know what I mean? So we got a leg down, 1, 2, 3. It's like a triple test there, but there's also a lot of liquidity there. So there is a second entry short there, but how do I know we're coming down? Leg and a leg. It's very tempting, that. Now, the setup, if that finishes bearish, looks really good. But what's the context like? We've got support across here. We've broken out. We've had 1, 2, 3 touches. So we could push up now. So it's not going to finish bearish anyway. In fact, that'd probably work. Is that a great setup? Not really. It is a higher low. It is a failure. But we're right at the bottom of this range at the moment. Now we've got a leg down. There is a possibility we could have another leg down. There are a few signals that this may come down. But you've got to think, am I going long back into this? Is it going to go? So it's not a great setup, I don't think. No, avoid. Yeah. So there we go now. So we've got another possible second entry short. I wouldn't take that. The bar's not fantastic, and it's a bit above the EMA, but there is still that possibility, and it is a chance we could come down, and it may come rocketing down. My thought process at the moment, with us being range, it's more likely to go up, but this happened the other day when I got stuck on that first trade, and we're getting exactly the same signals here. This is telling us this is coming back into the range, but this is telling us it's more likely to come down. There's 3 lots of liquidity there. So that's the trouble with some of these trades. Is it a good setup, and is it a good context? It's a bit confusing at the moment. So these are the trades I need to stay away from. I could jump straight into that, and it may work. It doesn't necessarily mean the context is right, although we've got a channel down here with 2 pushes up. Now my gut tells me it's probably going to come down. Well, there you go. But does it mean I take a trade? Because 3 bounces and a push up is telling me it's likely to come back into the range. So the trouble is, when you've got mixed signals, it's very easy for that impatient mind, if you've been sat there a while, to go, oh, I'll take this. That's where that true discipline comes in, which is a lot easier said than done, to be honest with you. Now, this is giving us mixed signals. It's signalling that it's probably going to go up. But there is a possibility it may come down. So if this is giving us mixed signals, these are the trades I need to say, okay, it's not a great setup. Now, what you don't want to do is think, I think this is going to go long and the thing rockets up, because that sticks in your head then. There is a fight between. Yeah, exactly. So the simple answer is some of these setups may look good, but because there is a battle and it is a little bit congested now, sideways, the simple answer is the sensible thing to do there is probably to sit tight. So let's just analyse. If I took that trade there, would I have got my 3 points? Maybe not. So now we're down at the bottom. So my stop would have been here. So it's very likely that this drops out, because it is starting to look like it could push down. Now there is a lower high there, but it could bounce and push up. So there's traps here. And when it's going slow and it is sideways, there is a certain element of it could go up or down, and really it's not a great time to be in a trade. Now if we got proper confirmation of a downtrend, then that might be a different story, but at the moment it's not that clear. So I just need that discipline to say, okay, I've got to ask myself two questions. Is it a good context? Is the context right, and is the setup right? If either one of them are out, I need to avoid it. My chart looks different. You end of day chart. This I don't think is, and no, it's selected with 7 days. I did. So let's just see if that comes down. I mean, there is liquidity there. As we know, market moves towards liquidity. So I would say there's a good chance that's going to go. If that goes, it may give it that drop and take this out. So we know we've been kind of rangy, and you could argue there's a triple test. Now, having said that, that would have made you something. But it didn't go up for much. You wouldn't have got 2 points, a little bit less. Let's see if this breaks below there. So if you took that as a higher low or a triple test, you wouldn't have got 2 points and you'd have got stopped out, which tells me it's probably in the wrong direction, but there we go. So this is the kind of line in the sand here. If it manages to get above and clear this out, it may come back into the meat of the range. Or if it continues to push down to here, it could then turn into a channel. So this is the area where the what ifs are being asked, and I think really your bias here needs to be, okay, I got this showing me bearish, this showing me it's bounced constantly here. So, you know, based on what I'm seeing here, it may go up. Based on what I'm seeing here, it may come down. So it's I think it's a case. Your chart looks different too. Let's reload it again. ES12 2000. See if this makes any difference. Yeah, it is loading. So it's having that patience around this area, because this area does reduce. So that one got stopped out. I'm assuming that's better, isn't it? That one got stopped out. If you took the higher low, you wouldn't have got 2 points. It would have to push through to get 2 points. So that was fortunate to make a bit, but then it started to turn, and then we got a lower high, and then a lower high, and so on. Now I have your bars. Excellent. Now it's the same. Brilliant. Okay, I did notice a bit of a change. So this now is starting to look like, one, it may bounce up, two, it may come down. So mixed signals. So it's times like this where I think what I need to do, if it's going sideways, I need to think to myself, okay, it's giving us mixed signals. Yes, there might be a lower high, or there may be a really nice long, but I need two forms of identification really to take a trade, or whatever you want to call it. A good setup and good context as well. So that got stopped out. Pretty sure this will. Yeah, so any trades there thinking this is going to go up now got stopped out. So that's the trouble. The direction is possibly change in here, and these are the ones I need to stay away from. And as we had a little chat a few minutes ago, 2 trades a week, although it doesn't sound a lot, it is just under $600 per account. That's what, 12, that's 24, that's nearly $2,500 just from 8 trades. You could afford a loss there and still earn $2,000 per account. So it really, yeah, see what I mean? So there we go. So 1 minute this is looking bullish, and I think we had exactly the same. Remember that trade I took the other day, what led to that big $900 loss and ultimately me going on tilt? It was a very similar scenario to this. Trapping longs, and all of a sudden it shot down. So the good thing is I identified it, we had a conversation about it, and the sensible thing to do would be to leave it, and it worked. Okay, that made you a point and a half, but it didn't make you 2. But the simple scenario was, it was a bit of a as Brant said, there's a bit of a battle going on, and when there is a bit of a battle going on, that battle's going on with people with much deeper pockets than we've got, so we don't have a lot of say in it. So our small influence into the market is neither in nor there. So I think when it's doing that at a critical point where it could turn, that's where I think I need to focus and say, okay, it's not giving me a good setup and good context, so stay away. Yeah, it does take patience, but I think with time and once it starts to work, I mean, yeah, if you win 8 trades in a row and then lose your 9th, going for 3 points, that should still give you a $2,000 profit per account, which is fantastic in my opinion. My chart looks different. Yeah, good. Like Jay said, we're still in a downtrend from yesterday afternoon. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the trouble is it's that messy. You don't quite know where it's, and I've realise with bitter experience, regardless of how messy it is, if it's still coming down, it wouldn't be a good idea to go against the trade. That's one thing I've done a lot in the past. Now, you may say it fit there, we've had a break and a new low, but then you may say, well, it fits here. But I think ultimately, however you draw it, it's clearly coming down. Now, you are going to get your pullbacks and all that. But you're not necessarily going to know where they are. And sometimes when you get a signal of a pullback and you go long, it's a trap. So the simple answer is just when it's going south, until you get proper confirmation the market's turned, you've got to affect your bias. So I have things that I struggle with that I got to try and work on, and that's one of them, having the patience when we got like a 1 minute will bounce, and it's going sideways, but ultimately this could come down. So it's a case of just staying out. You might want to reload. Yeah, I am reloading my bars. Yeah, okay. So at least we're on the. So that was the question I was talking about. The lock stop orders. Now there's pros and cons there. So if I can only move it in one direction, now I have my, let's put this over here because it's going to disappear. I have my ATR set to 12 and 12. There's my 3 points profit, which I go for now because I think 3 points is a good number. And I have my stop set on 3 points. But as we know, stops can vary from 1.75 points to 4.5 points. So the only option I've got is to make this bigger. So that will allow me then to move it into place. So I've got a question for you guys, if you don't mind answering. Would you move that and use... So would you move your stop on your ATR and utilise this lock stop? Or would you think there could be problems with that? Would you do it? And do you think it's useful? He said the ATR, he meant the ATM. Yeah, oh, sorry, ATM, my mistake, yeah. ATM strategy, yeah. I have mine initially set to 3 points and then I adjust it. Now, I can only adjust it in the way of the profit, not against me. So having it at 3 points, if the signal bar's 3.5 points, I won't be able to move it. So I will have to initially in the ATM, if I lock my stop but could only move it closer, I'd also limit myself to signal bar with stops no larger than the next few choices. Yeah, that's an option. You could say, like, I'd skip perfectly good trade because I had 5 to 6. Yeah, or you could try and get it on a limit order. Sometimes that works. Yeah, I mean, generally, if it's a 5 or 6 point, I will take them, but only if the setup's absolutely golden. And it's a beautiful setup, and it looks like, which we don't get a massive amount out. So, yeah, sometimes, I mean, I was talking the other day, if you remember, there is a setup there, but I'm not risking 2,000 per 5 accounts or whatever. So I will avoid those, and then there are times where I seem to jump in randomly, but I think the simple answer is when I take a trade, just to take my hand off the mouse, and if I find I am moving my stop still, then I'm going to have to do that. I rarely do, to be honest with you. Because I had that bad day the other day, it kind of caused me to do it, but I rarely do it, so I don't think it's a major issue at the moment, so I am just going to let's leave it off for now. So ultimately, let's not say target, because target means you've got to try and get there, and you can only... so let's call it the perfect place to be in a week would be 2 trades. So let's call it that. The perfect end of the week would be 2 trades. So let's call it that. I don't tend to like using targets because trouble is if you've got a target, you try and get to it, and I don't think trying to squeeze a trade to hit a target is a good idea. We don't do that anyway, generally, but yeah, that's kind of where I need to be. So, like, I'll skip it. It's a perfectly good, yeah. Yeah, sometimes the risk. I mean, if it's an absolute beautiful trade, then sometimes I don't mind stepping out my comfort zone and risking a little bit more. But as I say, you could put it 4 ticks back or 5 or 6 ticks back and see if you can get on a limit order. So if it hasn't got the ideal points, but the setup's good, maybe just jump in on a limit order. I mean, you see, I don't often do limit orders because I find my emotions tend to want me to get straight in. But Thomas Wade does do them, and he uses limit orders on I'd say a good amount of his trades. And it very rarely, he really doesn't often miss trades. So, although you see a beautiful signal bar and you do anything just to jump in, Thomas Wade sits back quite calmly and drops it on a limit order a few ticks back. And he doesn't miss a lot of trades. He does miss some, but not a lot. But what I do like about that, it does show self-control, that your emotions aren't making you jump in with your arms waving in the air. So, another thing I said I was going to take off Thomas Wade's thing, but if I wouldn't have done that yesterday, I'd have noticed there'd have been a few other people that widened that channel and may not have took that trade. So the simple answer is, just because I see someone else in a trade, I still make my own decisions. So I'm not going to let that influence my trades. I've only done it once or twice, and both times it stung me. So I remember that now. But I think it's useful sometimes just for a bit of a clarification on channels, because as I said yesterday when we had that initial one, I looked at the same time and there was a few traders with the bigger channel, and if I'd have seen that bigger channel, there's no way on God's earth I'd have taken that. I normally wouldn't take that anyway. Although we've had a break and a new high, that is not confirmation we've reversed. It needs to push below the EMA initially, give us a failure, trap some longs, or push down, have a pullback, and then continue on. But that really is just a short-term trend channel. And a short-term trend channel isn't an indication of a reversal. That type of thing is where we've come back, gone up, and we started to work down. Then you can start to think about maybe there's a reversal trade here. And even this had a break and pushed up. But, you could potentially trade this with, with the right scenario. There's actually plenty of space there. But yeah, when I took that trade, now I know when my mind's in the right place, I wouldn't take that. But that desire to get something back after a loss, I tend to think and hang around for a couple of 3 days. And I think that's what led to that. I wouldn't have normally taken a trade like that. But that's okay. I think it is realising what you did wrong, learning from it, and realising what caused you to make that decision, and then putting it in place. It's a really easy trade to take real time. Yeah, it's one of those things. And I wouldn't ordinarily, because I do see some traders seem we've had to break 2 new highs straight away. They're looking for shorts, and I don't usually take them. It's funny. Sam took that yesterday as well, and a couple of people on this stream took the same trade. So I probably did catch a few out, but as I say, ordinarily, if I'm in my nice patient place, I wouldn't have taken that. But it is realising what caused you to take a trade and why, and then just trying to be aware of it next time around. I have realised you can't just turn up to work and just do your normal thing day in, day out. It is quite a competitive business to be in, and you really need to be on your game. And you can't turn up half-hearted and go on then, let's have a game. You have to turn up ready for business and focus and concentration. And I only trade 2.5 hours a day, so it's not a lot of time to have to focus. You even waited for the higher low after the 2 legs. Yeah, it was easy to get tipped up there. Yeah, I think the extra sting in the tail there was the 4-point risk, and eventually took me out for, I think one of them was out for 650 and the other one 650. So I've only ever lost an extra couple of points on a trade once, and that was on the news. But the way that moved yesterday, it was almost like a news event. But it's funny, a trader buddy of mine that I haven't chatted with him much lately, but I'm going to keep in touch, Marlon, Delta Scalper is in here. He uses a piece of software called, what's it called? Oh, gone completely blank. I was looking at it last night. Volume profile. Point of control. He said the point of control was there, which was, I'm not massively up on it, but he said I went short right into the point of control, and I'm assuming the point of control was around about here. We'd gone up, bounced once, twice, 3 times, and up again. So I went short there. So from what little I know about volume profile, it shows you where the most volume is. Now I can look at that now and see we've bounced and pushed up, we've bounced and pushed up, we've bounced again, 3rd time, 1, 2, 3. It's almost like a triple test. So apparently he said I went short right into the point of control, which was here. Now point of control, from what I gather, is just the strongest, where the strongest amount of volume is. So he said to me, get it on a separate chart and just keep an eye on it. And if you're going to go long here, just check whether you might be making it. But there again, the point of control could mean it's got the most volume. It could be the most buying volume. But I don't know a lot about it at the moment. But I think sometimes these extra things, if they don't cause too much tax on your concentration, may just help you not get caught out from time to time. I don't know. So initially the thought process was just wanted to give a shout out to Apex for a very fast pair. Yes, I have heard Apex seem to be that's it, credit where credit's due. They make a mistake, people jump all over them. If they get something right, I think it's important to say no video required. Good on you. Yeah, someone told me they were I had a couple of people, I think, on Charlie Baker's website, Facebook group, that they're starting to get very fast, and that's what you want. If you claim a payout, there's nothing worse than sitting there for 2 weeks, like some people have, not knowing whether they're going to pay you. It causes a lot of stress, and it's not a good place to be in. I wouldn't want to wait 2 weeks. What do I do? Trade the account? Do I not trade the account? It's kind of almost like they're giving you enough rope to hang yourself, saying let's make you wait 14 days. Hopefully you'll blow the account. I'm not saying that's how they look at it, but that's kind of what it feels like. But yeah, so request on the 17th, approved and paid on the 18th for the week. Excellent. No video acquired. Good on you, mate. Congratulations on your payout. But yeah, back slap for Apex. Well done. That's what you want. That's what you want. I think really they've had to do that because there are a lot of companies doing that now. So if you've got to compete in this day and age, it is something you have to do. So I think Apex will get back to where they were. I think I had a trader buddy mention me yesterday and said he'd stopped trading them initially for a while, but when they sort of get things back in line, they all move back. So. I'm okay with Apex. I've not had any personal problems at all, but it is nice to know that they are paying quicker now. And well, mainly you're not waiting for a week or 2 weeks to know whether they're going to pay you out all. And if you've spent a lot of time and a lot of money and you're waiting for a fair few $1,000s, you don't really want to be kept waiting, do you? You've done your end of the bargain. You've paid on time. You've done what you're supposed to, because at the end of the day, if your normal day jobs, if you went to work and your boss said, right, I've messed your wages up this week, I'll sort it out in the next couple of weeks, you'd be going, oh, hold on a minute. I turn up for work on time, I do my work. Now your end of the bargain is you pay me on time. It goes both ways. I've always had that thought that if you should never mess a guy around with his wages. He's got bills, mortgages, kids, and you can't mess people around with their money. If they do their bit, you've got to do yours. Fast payout, work fast, and with no video, Apex can be the best prop firm again. Exactly what I said, bud. I think they've realised that they've had a couple of hiccups. But, that's business. What happened to Apple a few years ago? They brought an iPhone and there was a couple of fires. They had a massive recall of them, cost them an absolute fortune. So if a company as big as Apple can make a mistake and bounce back, then, that just goes to show you, doesn't it? Nothing's ever smooth in business. You have your good years and your bad years. But yeah, it does happen. But you get your game face on and you sort it out and you come back better. But yeah, interesting. So you guys use my code for my Apex, which is much appreciated. Now, I just usually get an email the following morning, you've got $50 in your account for so-and-so the day. So I don't know when somebody uses it, but with my funded futures, I do get a little ping of an email, and there was a couple yesterday. So whoever used my code for the my funded futures accounts yesterday, it's much appreciated. So, Brant, watching a smaller, much tighter channel, beginning with a swing just before it failed and pushed out to the bottom of the range. So I'm guessing you're looking at something like this. No videos, but I follow Apex's rules to the T. Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'm assuming you're looking at that, Brant, aren't you? I was kind of looking at it, but let me have a look. Yeah. I mean, there may be something bigger, but I think ultimately this is the, yeah. So let's have a look. So let's bin that for now. So have we got any type of legs down here? There is a possibility of a leg and a leg, but this kind of all looks like one big channel to me. So yeah, it's pretty hard to define this up into legs. I suppose the biggest pullback was here. So let's have a bit of a zoom out. So we know we've hit all-time highs again, or made all-time highs. We're up to that nearly, that magical, the 5,800 level. So Where could this go? It's hard to say, really. It could come down to it. You just don't know at the moment. At the moment, it's just coming down, but there's no real target area that I can see. We've broke below there. I mean, we had that initial push up with that news, so there's some gaps here, isn't there? Have a great weekend, or you're off, are you? Yeah, you take it easy, bud. Have a good weekend. There is some, what they call those fair value gap type things here, isn't there? So yeah, there's a good chance it could come down to this area. It's like a big, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a few days of downtime, but who knows? This is a channel which looks to me like it's a nice fitting channel. This is a break. So let me just put this one there as well, just in case it's at the top of here now. So what I'm going to do is put this on. I'll just kill the color so it's an area of interest, because it has touch. It has hit the right sort of area to drop, but I wouldn't automatically short that. There are some who probably would, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but it's not a setup that I'm allowed to take. Trouble is, when you're only taking, say, a couple of trades a week, when they do happen, it's kind of you're in a bit of a dizzy world. Is this real? Am I missing something? Is this... You know, I suppose if you're sitting and waiting for a bus for 3 days and one turns up, you've got to ask yourself the question, am I bloody seeing things? So I think that's the trouble, really. If you're taking 3, 4, 5 a day, you see it, you take it, you know, it's no biggie, is it? But if you're not seeing a lot, when they do happen, I don't know if anybody else experienced this, but I have, you kind of stop and have to think for a minute, and in some cases you miss them and you're thinking, was it good? And the more you look at it, the more you realize it was good, but it's kind of too late there. So the less you take, the harder it kind of is in a strange way. But there you go. Definitely feel like yeah, it is a bit odd, isn't it? If you see something incredibly rarely when you do see them, you kind of go, okay, is this real? Am I seeing things? There must be something wrong. By the time you've had those few thoughts go through your head, trade's already done. That's the difficult thing for experienced traders scalping, because you don't have a lot of time to think. So let me have a look if I can adjust this. If I can adjust this, it would fit better at the bottom. So I don't mind doing it to there. That is good enough. How does the bottom fare? The bottom's not too bad. So let me just get rid of that a minute. Touch. I think that's okay there. It fits nice. I did adjust it up a little bit, but I can do that. I wouldn't keep doing it, but so channel break new high. So I would be looking for a short really below that EMA. A failure or something like that, trapping some longs. Now Thomas Wade's got that popping out the top, which, yeah, let's leave it at a small break. In fact, I like the way it touches there and there and there now. So, and I think the bottom is, yeah, I see no issues with that really. I mean, if it's certainly a break from this channel anyway. So let's say, you know, this is the area where it could turn. Now, if it continues to go down, we may adjust this slightly larger anyway to incorporate that. So, so that's a reasonable signal. It's coming down, but you really need to wait for it to get below the EMA, because it could trap you in it goes. So I'm going to see if I can have a week next week of just only trying to find ones that absolutely... We all know those trades where you get that little tingle in your guts and you think, I want it. You know what I mean? You get those trades where you think, if this goes bullish now, that's an absolute beauty and you want it. And when it goes bullish, you jump in. Those trades just don't fail. And that's what I kind of want to do. Wait till I see that trade that makes me fingers shake that I can't click the button quick enough because it's as good as it looks. I submitted 3 pair requests on the 15th and they got approved next day. Fantastic. Again, 17th, submitted another 2 requests, one approved and the other one under review. No idea what's going on. Yeah, I'm assuming you copy trade them. Doesn't make sense that. If you copy trade trades, why put one under review? Why? Doesn't make sense. If you get it refused, I'd say, hold on a minute, I copy trade these. How come you passed one and you didn't pass the other? Absolutely makes no sense. So hopefully, maybe it's just a software issue that's flagged something up, but it'll be processed. So, see, Apex used to be number 1 until they started enforcing those, enforcing the rules. So, you know, sometimes you do ask a question: was it worth them? If it does that much damage to your reputation, or you may lose business, is it worth changing things? But you don't know what goes on in the background. I'm seeing loads of these videos now on YouTube and on Facebook saying we'll pass your evaluation. So there is loads of companies out there trying to bend the rules and change things. So obviously we don't see all that. Apex do. So they're obviously getting issues with people, you know, trying to do stuff immorally and doing this. So you know, as a business, you have to look into it and you have to adjust things. And sometimes the people who suffer, you know, it's like the same thing. Look at insurance claims. Why do you think our car insurances go up? Because they're people who make bogus claims. You know, anything in life, people are going to try and swing the lead. And unfortunately, the people who suffer for it is us with higher premiums. You know, I mean, look at the banking system, how much bank fraud there are and credit card fraud and stuff like that. It's everywhere you look. You know, you can't have a week where you don't get an email. You know, I tell you what, we're getting a lot in the UK at the moment is you're getting regular phone calls. I get 2 or 3 a week. This is the Inland Revenue. You owe this amount of money. Log into this account and check blah blah blah. Or phone this number. There's so many different cons out there. And it's in our everyday life, everywhere you look. You know, we have to keep on our game so we don't fall for it. And obviously businesses do as well because it costs people a hell of a lot of money. But at least I think the more important things is I don't mind waiting until the end of the month, if that's when they say it's going to be. But you want notification that it's been approved and you want it out your account. Ideally, you put it in one day, it comes out the next day. That's the perfect scenario. 24 hours, that would be the other scenario. I've got no issues with waiting until the end of the month or the 15th or whenever it is. But ultimately, if you submit a payment, you want it approved and removed from your account so you can carry on. So, this thing could continue up. I'll be surprised if it doesn't find its way down here at some point. But you never know, so I might keep an eye on this as well. Just be aware of where it could turn. But at the moment, we haven't broken above that line, and we've come down a fair few amount of points. Oh, actually, not as many as I thought. 50, just over 50. So we're definitely working in that area. That much we know. I'm just trying to think. I can't even really define this as two legs. I suppose the closest to it would be from there to there. That's the biggest pullback I can see, really. There is one there, but obviously that move would be over. So at the moment, a little bit further, that's kind of somewhere around about the middle. But so I think it is important just to pay attention to this area. So let's have a look at this. There could be a break and a new high already. We started from here and we followed these bars, and then it shoots up over to the side. This is the type of thing I like confirmation with sometimes off other, maybe like Thomas's, what's he seeing there? And funnily enough, he's seeing something very similar. Is it? Yes, he's followed that line up. So there's the break on mine. He's kind of, yeah, he's kind of at the break about now. So, yeah, so, and he's entered the whole thing. So it is nice to get an opinion, I think. It just, if I'd have noticed that yesterday, that a few other people were widening that channel, I may not have. So I think it is probably going to help me more than hinder me. As long as I don't copy any of their trades. Just confirmation of channels, I think it's a good idea. You guys get to see my chart. So you've got a second opinion. I don't get to see yours. See, so having him there, I mean, you could sit here and copy my trades. There's nothing stopping you. It wouldn't be a good idea, as with me copying any of theirs, because, you know, I copied one a few weeks ago and it lost. So there you go. Drop below, pull back, lower high, yeah. Drop below there and maybe a lower high or a failure somewhere. I think there's a good chance it's going to come down. We've got a channel here, as we know. This is the break. We've got a bigger channel, as we know. This is the break. And there is an overall channel, which, you know, a lot of this is getting close to the top. So I think it's ticking all the boxes. But I'd like to see a second entry long trigger and then maybe catch a failure. There is a trade on here I'm looking at as well.
Order submitted.
Is this going to come down possibly?
Order
yeah,
filled.
Okay. There's a trade on the my funded futures one as well that I'm in now. I don't mind trading this one a little bit more aggressively. It's just a single account on its own, but there we go.
Order filled.
That's shot down a bit further than I'd liked. It's come off the right places. There is a lower high there. I think it's likely to go down. Whether it'll take that out or not, I got into that a little bit premature. But I was waiting for something like that. Now, whether it'll pick that liquidity off, I don't know. But this is the only thing I can do. See it, take a trade. That trade's worked on the what's it. That worked fine. So it's gone down an extra couple of ticks more than I really wanted. But it is a leg and a leg. It's not the ideal scenario. But what I will say, I'll tell you what is going for it. You know, these double bar channels that I see, ordinarily I would short there. And 2-point risk, 2-point what's it. So I think there's a good chance that comes down here. So I may get out here for break even because I've come down a lot more than I should have done. Still not. I'm getting a bit nervous here because, well, it's not nervous, but the picture's starting to look not as good as I initially thought it was.
Order filled.
Okay, that. Okay, one tick there. The one time it pushed fast, it didn't give me what I wanted. Only got $25 per account there. Strange. Yeah, this pushed down a bit quick. I got into this a bit premature. I should have waited for a pullback, really. So that's the thing. I have to do that. I've got to think a little bit. So let me just disconnect this and connect it. It's all right. I'm still getting this showing that it's open, although it's closed on Rhythmic. Ultimately, that's the important thing. So yeah, strange. I just got one tick. I had it set at 50 there. It's weird, isn't it? When it hits your profit, it can cut you out. It won't give you more. When it hits your stop, it'll only take more. Someone's making some money somewhere. So it was a good choice to get out of there. I'm glad I did. So trade worked perfectly there. So that's the good news. Yeah. So I was right to be nervous there. I should have left that. But I got out for yeah, okay. I need just to be a little bit calmer. Your bars are different again, are they really? Try reloading yours, bud. So I got in that way too late. If I'd have got in that on a limit order, it may have been a little different. If I'd have got in there, say there, I may have got 3 points, maybe not. You did, really. Is anybody else's different than mine? You didn't have the lower high. It's funny you should say that. I just looked at Thomas Wade's. He didn't have it either. Let me reload mine then. Ordinarily, that's a little bit too far down to me. The move's kind of already made. My bars are a little different. But it's shorted double bottom down to the EMA. I'm expecting a new test of the challenge. Yeah, I think that's likely going to come down. It's back up. Is that any better? Yeah, it's gone now. Okay, so it is bouncing off that bigger channel. So it looks just like a little bit of a pullback leg down. If we can get a second entry shorty, we may get a decent move down. So let's get rid of that because I'm confusing the picture a bit. So we had a leg and a leg, we had a push down, big strong push about, and then push below it again. So if we can get another pullback, a second entry short here, that might not be bad. Yeah, I didn't get one there either, look. Yeah, both very different. But I am going to have a play around over the weekend with that volume profile just so it can show me the areas maybe risky to enter. So channel down, one attempt higher, second attempt. If I can get a second entry short here, that may be a terrible trade. Must wait more. You have the same bars, good on you, mate. So channel down, one push up sec. It's kind of like almost like a triple test, this, isn't it? I'm going to get an order ready just in case we get something that looks
Order
nice.
submitted.
So there is some liquidity up here, some. Definitely some support along there as well, yeah. Bouncing off support. Let's see it. Get rid of that. And then drop. Or lower high, I think, is the option. I'd like it to just get rid of that, though. In fact, you know something? I jumped into that trade there with a sell order. I clicked sell market. I think I'll be best off to get rid of that. You can see I've got it at the side here. I'd be best off getting rid of that. So the only way I could get into a trade would be to right click and do that. That gives you a few more seconds to think. So the second I click that, I'm in, whether it's here or whether it's here. So I may decide to just remove that and just have the main chart in. The only way I can take a trade is to right click, and which gives you just that little bit extra time to think. Because obviously then you've got to drag it into place. And if it's already pushed down, you may decide to hold on a bit, and it may just give you that little bit of extra breathing space. So it has actually pushed up to that 60. That's not quite off it, is it? So lower high below this EMA maybe. Or it could go up. I think you've got to be open-minded, haven't you? I still think we're going to get a new low, but sometimes, depending on how much of a big move we've had, it'll mess around for ages. Sometimes it'll push up, make a few traps, go a bit sideways before eventually, maybe a failed breakout before eventually. It does that a lot if we've had a really big, strong move down, and we kind of have. It's been a fair old move there from yesterday evening. So, you know, let's have a look. We need to get through that EMA though anyway. I'd like to push through, a couple of legs up, and then have maybe something smaller. Kind of pushing down to eventually get down here or something, I don't know. Pause. So I'm looking forward to the weekend off. Been a testing week. So, I mean, it could work up, it could do. You just never quite know at the moment, do you? I mean, my thought process is it's likely to make a new low, whether it's this channel, which fits nice, or whether it's the bigger channel, which doesn't fit too bad either. We got a touch, a touch, a touch. And the bottom's finished nice, which ordinarily a good chunk of the time you would eventually get a new low. But obviously, the bigger the move, sometimes it does mess around a little bit more before it eventually works down, and you can get caught in the crossfire sometimes. So, yeah, somebody mentioned. Well, they've gone from there. So it's just hit that 50% level. Now, I haven't done it from the top. 2 legs down, a push up. I've done it from this initial move because for me, this is where the channel really starts. So we have had a push up with a break, 2 legs up or 2 pushes up to a new high from that, however you want to look at it. And we've hit that 50% nice, 50% level. So whether that's now the catalyst or not, your guess is as good as mine. Yeah, see, that channel there, Taylor has got it like that, like we've already had a break and a new low. It's hard to get it to fit. I've got it right to the top there. I mean, fitting perfectly would have to be there, so that is negligible. But on his chart, it actually looks believable. He's gone from the top there, right tight there. There's definitely more of a break on his chart. And then a new low. So, it could be working up. Mine fits perfectly, no break. Yeah. I mean, if I fit that tight to that, I've got that, which I think it's possible. But from what I'm looking at, I think it's negligible. I mean, it is a fraction. And I know sometimes it can make a difference, but the fact that it has pulled up to that 50% level and pulled away from it, I mean, you wouldn't go short straight away. You'd have to wait for a signal. We've kind of had this leg with a break, 2 push up to a new high. You know, you'd have to wait for it to be down here, aiming short anyway, wouldn't you, before you jumped in? You wouldn't just think, this is going down, let's just jump in without something, you know. As we know, the bigger these channels are, sometimes the more it takes them to eventually make a new low. So there is actually a failure there. Trying to go one strike twice, but it is a little bit congested. Could be. It could trigger and push. It's hard to say at the moment. I mean, there's always a possibility we could have had a small break. It would have to be small. But there are obviously traders, as we know, that think that may be moving up. So a short below there probably wouldn't be the best option at the moment. But it wouldn't be a great sign anyway, because going short there, there's the kind of a lows of that leg down there, and it is a bit sidewaysy. So I'm just going to give it the benefit of the doubt and see what it wants to do. But it's just congested at the moment, so who knows? These are the times really where you just got to let it do its stuff and wait for proper confirmation of a certain area that's absolutely obvious, and we do get them. Marco just said, yeah, no idea what's going on. I'm wary of both sides here, Taylor says. So, yeah, case says very congestion. Yeah, so there's uncertainty here at the moment. I mean, it could trigger that bearish bar and push up, and there is a possibility it could go up. It's, you know, I mean, you could, there's argument to say that on some people's charts, there's a small break there. On my chart, I think it's negligible. As Brant said on his chart, it fits perfectly. So the slight variation I mean, if you think about that there, the bit that's stopping that is that bar there. Now, that's a relatively bearish bar. Now, that could be more in the line of that. There could, if there was a bigger wick, if there was a bigger wick there, you could, or there was a bigger wick here, you could bring that down a bit, which may expose the tops of those. So, there is a certain amount of, there's a certain tolerance there, which I think you're aware of, but I think you'd be hard pushed to say that that's at a break, certainly on my chart anyway. Someone's looking for a sell down here. But I really won't want to go short there. Leg, break, new low. It's kind of already happened, that. Now, granted, if this does come down, there you go. But I wouldn't want to go short there. If I thought this was going to come down, I'd rather my stop be there than here. But yeah, it's not super clear. And sometimes you kind of find it, you kind of feel it's your duty to figure out what's going on and try and make something of it. When I say make something of it, I mean make a trade fit. And I think that's where it can get a bit dangerous. Yeah, someone's in it. In fact, there's a couple of people in a trade. Someone's in a trade there. I don't think it's the worst place in the world to take a trade, but I'm a bit uncertain that a lot of other traders are. So for me, it would be risky. Now, if you can play the numbers and if the losses don't bother you, trades like that would work more than they don't. And if you are banking on that coming down and you were going to go for 1-to-1, then it would be worth taking. So it depends what type of trader you are. Some people go for more risky ones and the losses don't affect them. They just play the numbers. Then that might not be a bad place to enter. Now, it's close to the bottoms. Ideally, we have a channel with a break. You really want to be out before the bottoms, and there's no space, under that scenario. There is a second entry short there, but it is congested. You have to pay attention to that because the market can trick you. And it can get you in. See, it's times today where I'm at my sort of safest and strictest. And this is kind of where I need to be. You can clearly see it's going a bit sideways there. So a second entry short may work here, or it may not. We've already had a channel, a break and a new low. If this thing is trying to work up, it could come back and retest this area. I took that short. Yeah. Some people will take them. And, some people think, yeah, it's slightly more aggressive, so it's worth taking. But for me personally, it's not one of the best setups. And, if you're one of those traders that suffer when you have losses, and we do talk about we've got to find the best of the best, that certainly isn't it. It's not a second entry short. It is a failure, but failure is always better if you trap in longs, because when you hit the short stops, it gives you momentum. And we haven't really got it there. And now we're going sideways. This could rack up. Now, you probably got your points out of that anyway. So if you went, say, where's the tip below there? There. So you'd have got 2 points out of there because it would have had to push through. No more. So is that a great trade? I would say not. No. I got 2 trades that I'm done. Have a nice weekend. Yeah, you too, buddy. It's clearly stacking up now, so yeah. Let's have a look at some of the couple of comments on here. Marco's saying we need momentum. Yeah, there is none. Need full bear bars. Yeah, C hasn't taken it. A couple of have. Bar sucks. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some have, but most haven't, I think. He has. And is it working for him? Yes, it has. Another one that was looking at it. I mean, it has worked. We are expecting a new low, but it's a big risk, and it's very close to the lows. So ordinarily, I think Mac would have to agree that one. Well, it's always on a Friday we get these queries, isn't it? I think Mac would have to say that is a risky trade, getting that so close to the lows. I think even from Mac's point of view, if you took it a tick below there, there's Mac wouldn't take that because he'd say you'd have to be out before the lows. Yeah. Now there's always that chance it could have come down here, but it may not. So there's 5. If you take it a tick below there, there's 2 ticks to the lows of that, which is not enough. So he wouldn't mark that, and I think that's a bit risky. I do think it'd probably work, but I don't want a probably work. I love that setup. Loads of space to the lows, perfect signal bar. They're the ones I want. The ones I've got to take if I'm going to be consistent. So it is obviously pushing for the lows of this after that channel or the bigger channel, whatever you want. I think probably that one looks about best to me. So there is probably something larger there, but it actually didn't fit too bad, to be fair. But for this exercise, I think this is probably the neater, most obvious one. Channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high, and eventually down we come. So one would assume we'd break those lows. Whether it'll do it now or pull back a little bit first. So I would say I haven't seen what I would consider a really good setup so far today. Let me see, nothing there really. It's just chop, 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 chop. And then we have a push up, and then we had to come down. Nothing there, nothing there. Break new highs is coming down, maybe. I don't think you can take anything here. There was a couple of longs on offer that you may have got money from, but we're clearly bouncing there. You just don't know it's going to drop. And then we come down, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. Nothing down there. 2 legs up. There's nothing. If you wanted to do a second entry short, you couldn't. That bar, that's not a good setup at all by any means of the stretch of the imagination. It's just a channel down with a first entry. It technically is a failure, but it's stacked up, and failures are always better when you're triggering a long second entry long, which you trigger. There's no long trade there, and it comes down, goes sideways. You have this little drop, but then when it does that, that tells you that there's some uncertainty around this area. So for me, there's nothing worth taking there. So pull down, a little pull back, and down we come. We're not far off now. A few ticks. There we go. So it did what it was supposed to, but it went up, came back, went up twice. If we could have got a second entry long off this, then I'd have had a go at that, because my thought process, we were still coming down to make a new low of this, which it did. So the market's doing what it should do today. It's a little bit readable, a little bit more predictable apart from this area here. So you could even put that there and that there, actually. Yeah, that's pretty nice fitting. Touch, touch, touch. Pull back, little break. Touching nice there. Fitting beautifully along the bottom. I don't think that's a bad setup in itself there. Sorry, a bad channel in itself. Let's just give that a hint of colour. Yeah, touch, touch, little touch there, and then obviously it came down. Then we had that break, came down, 2 pushes up and then down. Tough day for Alpine, almost all of his accounts, but all right. He seems to be struggling lately himself, doesn't he? I think I looked back on a month and a half of his accounts and he was down about 70 grand. It's ever since he stopped doing that open range breakout without the stop that he hasn't seemed to be able to pull it together, which is a shame, because that strategy you use, I don't think I've seen a trader have that many green days. Every single day I looked at the start of his channel, he was up $300 per account every single day. I saw him do that about 18 days in a row. He absolutely killed it. But because they've stopped him trading it or trading without a stop or whatever they've done exactly, it's kind of killed his strategy. So he's trying to, he's trading. I don't quite know how he's trading it, but I know he's struggling with it. So if I was him, I'd be on the lookout for a prop firm that'll let me trade how he used to, because he was flipping spectacular at that, I got to say. I mean, everyone was talking about it, the amount of money he was earning. Everyone was looking at his channel. It does make you wonder, really, whether his success was kind of what caused him to lose that. You know, a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people trading it. Maybe Apex got wind of it and said, let's have a look. Oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. But I don't think I've seen a trader seem to have that much success and make a good amount of money quickly. I thought that guy was made for life, but it just goes to show that was a failed second entry long one. A few people took a penguin style trade. You're talking about a short around here, are you, bud? See, I see that as one leg up and two leg. Yeah, I think if it was a penguin, which it probably was, that for me is a bit more of an advanced penguin setup for me. But yeah, we got a channel down. We definitely kind of, but yeah, I get from a penguin point of view, taking something around here, or maybe even just below here, I don't know. But we kind of thought that there was a good chance that was going to happen. But when it happens is obviously what we need to know, because we could short there. It may come up, bounce off here 3 times, and then drop like a stone. So it's knowing when it's going to happen and whereabouts. Alpine has a major flaw in his strategy. If you look closely, he doesn't do well in bearish and range days. He only makes money in bull markets. Interesting, isn't it? That's where you need like TradeZilla or something like that, because it's got those little bits of data that can shed light on you. I watched someone use that once, and he found out that he had about 90% of his losses on a Thursday, so he started taking Thursday off, and everything changed. He doesn't adapt well. I think what it is, because he put everything into that strategy, and now he's kind of had to sort of, what's the word, reinvent himself, for want of a better word. He's finding it a bit hard, but no doubt he's one of the most successful Apex. Absolutely, yeah. I think he's got that. I don't think he goes on tilt a lot, does he? And I think if you can, I mean, he has been trading. I think I heard him say about 5.5, 6 years, maybe 8 years, somewhere around about there, maybe 5 to 7 years, which is a reasonable amount of time. I think he's certainly got 2 or 3 years on me. And I think he said that last year he was making a couple of 3,000 here or there. So it is a shame, really, that he can't trade that strategy, because he absolutely killed it. And that obviously created a lot of people talking about it. And then obviously, what's her face? Kellyanne made that video on his strategy, and she's debunked it, and now it works and all this, and a few more people. I think Volatility Trade, he's a nice guy. He was having a go at it, and I think a lot of people were looking at it and trying it, and whether that led to Apex finding out and maybe changing some rules, it's certainly possible, or it may not be at all. But sometimes the only thing that I found was unusual, that he'd win this money before the stream, and then he said he wanted to make the stream interesting and exciting, so he took other trades, and those other trades he'd lose, but he felt the need to trade them just to making streams interesting. And you know, it shouldn't be about losing some of your money from your great strategy because you want to make streams more interesting. People would rather see you take winning trades, and but there you go anyway. But he's certainly got, I think, that trader mentality, which I think is going for him. And when he sorts out whatever strategy he's doing, I think he'll get back on his feet. But it's just a shame, really, that they stopped him. Whether they stopped, I don't know what they stopped exactly, but it is a shame, really, when someone's doing well. Something always seems to bloody stop it. So anyway, channel. In fact, I'm going to take a quick break for a cup of tea. Been going an hour, 30 minutes. My mouth's a bit dry, so channel down. There's a bunch of them, maybe a bigger one. That one works nice. We've had a break clearly, and then I've obviously had a push down and a new low. So we're still kind of working down at the moment. Whether we pull back a bit and continue down, I'm not sure. But I'm just going to take a quick 5-minute break, just to sort of replenish me liquid levels. And I'll be back about 3 to 5 minutes. Let's have a look. Okay, nothing's really happened. We had, well, we broke these lows and it's kind of just a little bit sidewaysy, so. Oh, yeah. Possible. Let me just check where this larger chart, because this is playing a part. Let's put it there and there, somewhere around about there. Let's keep it tight to the top here so it fits more. So we are working in there. That's at the bottom, that's at the bottom. So I'm going to keep that there because I think that, unlike most days, seems like it's playing an important role today. So I just want to make sure it's within this area, really. So we got that channel down, we had the break and we got a new low, but we've also got a bit of a channel ourselves, and we've had various channels here, break, new low, we've come back up and we've come down again. So at the moment we are sort of side skirting our way down. Just read your comment there. See, I remember seeing Alpine saying, I'm making this much money, I've made X amount of money, and he goes out and buys that 911, doesn't he? And then all of a sudden, from then on, they've stopped the strategy. So it's kind of ironic, isn't it? It does make you cringe sometimes, doesn't it? Think just as I start to get somewhere, someone tries to pull the rug from under me feet. It's just, sometimes it doesn't rain, it pours. So there does seem to be, like there could be a channel down there. We come down, we go up, down, we go up, we come down. We've made a new low. Sorry, with that push down, we made a new low there. We came back, made another new low, back again, another low. So I do think there's something larger in play here. So really, any type of short, really, well, if you want to take a short, it's got to be sort of up here at least somewhere, isn't it? Or maybe even here. Let's have a look at this. Now, there is more of two legs down there, isn't there? Yes. So we got a leg down there and a correction. So the NQ is a little bit more clear. I can't necessarily find. What I will say is there might be a leg and a leg there. So a leg there and a leg here, which should kind of take us to a nice area. Let me just zoom in a bit. So let's put that right there. And that's in a good place. And that is good. And then we've come down, touched it, and bounced. So leg and a leg with a correction and a leg. So, yeah, I was kind of looking for something a bit bigger here, but let's just forget about there. I mean, it's clearly working in there, but just for simple sake, we seem to have a little bit of sideways there, a push up, and from then we seem to be working down, then a correction, then down again. So this thing's flying, look. So that's clearly played off. So That, depending on how you're looking at this, looks like an overshoot from the larger channel and possibly from this channel as well. But there again, if this big bearish bar here has more of a wick on it, I could bring that down to there, in which case it hasn't, so I'm probably going to do that actually. I do see Max sometimes cutting the top off now on your chart. If there's a wick down to here, that would fit. So I would say at the moment, I'm probably not going to consider that an overshoot. Having said that, there's obviously something bigger here. Fun enough, Taylor is just, yeah, right, this second put that on there, 1616, same as mine. And he's got exactly the same with an overshoot. So he's looking at the bigger channel as well. So I think it's important to factor that into any decision making. So it doesn't mean you automatically want to go long. It's such a bearish day at the moment. After we had those, I think the initial all-time highs were about here or here, and eventually we extended it up. So I suppose that might be something to do with why we're having a bit of a pullback. Also, I do believe that my funded futures changing their scalping rules as well. I noticed Charlie Baker scalps himself and uses them. He's been going for 2 points and getting paid, so which is interesting. I think they're getting a lot of people messaging him about that. No, I can't find the comment now. So, overshoot, quite possible. Is it an overshoot from this channel as well? Possible overshoot from this one, certainly. So, maybe a steeper correction. A steeper pullback or correction, something like that.
Order submitted.
Well, I'm just checking. It won't let me buy 2 lots of contracts. No, it won't. Let me just check log. Yeah. It's all right. I've got it set to only let me 2 contracts maximum. So I was
Order
just checking it
cancelled.
worked. Yeah, there's a bunch of sort of channels going on here. This kind of looked okay. That looked okay. This looked okay. But this, I mean, it's clearly, it's coming down. We get channels. I mean, we could even go farther than that, couldn't we? There's a channel there. There's a channel there. But there's this loads of areas where we're coming down. We're just continuing down. So, whether you can consider that an overshoot, for this channel, personally, I think it's negligible. This larger area where we haven't got below, touch here, touch here, touch here. We have now, so we just may get a steeper correction. We may get back up to this area again. It's hard to know exactly where price is going to go now. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'm going to get rid of this. The trouble is having those buy and sell buttons there when those emotions kick in, I think sometimes can hinder you more than help you. That's how I got in that trade. I managed to get out, unfortunately. I forget where it was now. It was a lower high. It changed. It wasn't there. It was up here somewhere. And the beauty about taking that, getting rid of that, is it just gives me that little bit of extra time to think and to do this. And
Order
at least
submitted.
I've got those valuable seconds. I can
Order
make
canceled.
a decision. So just have a quick look at this 10,000 tick chart. Let's see how this is faring. Still fitting nice, isn't it? Let me have a look. Let's have a look at this one. That fits nice. Touch, touch, touch. There is an overshoot there, which didn't seem like a lot, but it's a 10,000 tick chart, so it's actually a fair amount. So if we go from, say, I don't know, here to there, yeah, there's a good couple of points outside there. Where's the account balances sit in for Apex account? Where? Hold on a sec, I'll read that in a sec. Where are the account balances sitting for the Apex accounts relative to the drawdown? I find much less stressful. Yeah, they are in. Look. If I click into Rhythmic and then go into Trader Dashboard, they're in there. Let me just show you. If I put that there and just move it here. And keep moving it. It is up here somewhere. But you have to adjust it to get rid of a load of these because this, where is it? There it is. Auto liquidate threshold. So that shows you where it is in relation to you. You've got to get rid of a bunch of these. So if I had to remove columns, let's hide them all. And then add accounts. Let's have a look. Where's account balance? Account balance and liquidation. Where's that? It's the liquidation bit. Auto liquidation threshold. Yeah, okay. It's a bit long-winded, but if I do it like that, that makes it a bit easier. So there you go. You can see the account there. You can see my balance. And you can see where the auto liquidate. So those two took that sting. That was new this morning. Those two took the $600 sting. obviously that doesn't move. That hasn't moved. Okay, what happened is that trade, it went for me $100. And you can see it there. It went from 500 to 96, or there was a tick difference. It went forward as that trade I took yesterday went into profit by about a point. And then obviously it dropped. That stays $100 off, but that will stay where it is now until I get $2,500 in front of it before it starts to move. Oh God, yeah. The beauty is, if I lose $500, let's say this was at $47.50 and I lost $1,000, that would stay where it is. It will allow me then to make that $1,000 back to create that $2,500 distance again before that will start to move. Couldn't move that. Yeah, you can just, if you just right click the column, you can add and remove. If you click add and remove columns and you just click hide all, and then you can just get, it is a bit long-winded, but if you just put the important bits and then just keep it there, it just shows the difference. But that's what I like about it. You have to lose $2,500 in succession to hit your target. But every time you pull back away, it stays where it is until you've created that $2,500 difference, and then it will start to move again. The only reason that's a little bit above 47,500 is because that trade went about $100 or $125 in my favour in profit before it eventually reversed to hit me with that 600 or 650. That's why that's moved $120. But those will stay exactly where they are till I make back what I've lost. And there's a difference in $2,500 between that and that. Once then I make profit, that will then start moving with me. So yeah, it's not difficult. I always kind of know where I am. But as I say, you've really got to lose $2,500 in succession before really that'll hit you, unless you say make $1,000 and then it comes down and takes you out break even, then that $1,000 goes against you. But I'm not a swing trader. The most I go for is 3 points. So even if it goes 2 points in my favour, comes back, it's not enough to do you damage. So it's not a major issue, that. So yeah, it's not difficult. So just go on your normal main chart. This thing here, I'll show you one more time. This thing here. Click on Trader Dashboard. You'll get a shed load of them here, but just get rid of that. Add and remove documents, hide all, and then just put accounts. Where's account balance? You know what I mean. Account balance, and then the auto liquidate. Where is account balance? Account balance, and then the auto liquidate thing is down here somewhere, isn't it? I think it's at the bottom somewhere. It says, I don't think those are it. Auto liquidate trigger status. No. Auto liquidate peak balance. Nope. That one. Nope. It's here somewhere. You get the idea though. Where's it go? Got to find it now. There we are. There we go. So there we go. And then you can just resize that and then keep it wherever you want. But it's pretty straightforward. That's your balance. That's where you it's going to liquidate. So there you go. So channel down with an overshoot. Usually we get a bigger correction. So that to me is a correction. Pull up, 2 legs down and a leg up. So it's weird that if you look on that 10,000 tick chart, we got a channel down there with 1 leg up, 2 legs up. If we get a bearish bar here on that account there, the 10,000 tick chart, that could potentially be a second entry short. I mean, it's above that EM anyway, but if it pushed above and then came down bearish, it just goes to show there's no difference between a 10,000 tick chart and a 1,000 tick chart. There's no difference. Price action works exactly the same. Channel down there with a break, 1, 2 legs up, and so on and so forth. But it certainly could come down. Whether it will or not is a different matter. So it is relatively bearish, but just that isn't enough, really. It's after that correction, I really want to wait for it to come below the EMA and show me that it's going to continue down. But I have this on my chart, on the side of my chart, this all the time, my positions. So, you know, sometimes when a trade closes and it still shows here that it's active, as long as it's closed in here and it's greyed out, that's the important thing. It doesn't matter if it shows there, but what you never do is select it and click close, or just click close, because it'll open a trade in the opposite position. If you still see one there, but it's closed in there, these are all greyed out, just click on connections, disconnect, and then reconnect, and then you'll find that'll disappear. Next time I have one, I'll show. I think most of you know, but there may be a few that don't know, but occasionally it'll stay active in NinjaTrader, but not in Rhythmic. This is more important here. As long as these are greyed out, the trade is closed. But I always keep these on my chart, so I've got my mile line, just in case something goes amiss. You can't protect yourself enough in this business. But next time I get one of those, I'll show you. Most of you probably know, but there may be one or two that don't. But do not click close. If you click close, it'll open up a trade in the opposite direction. Why it does that? No idea, but it does. So yeah, or don't close. Just go into your normal dashboard up here. Click connections, disconnect it and reconnect it, and it'll disappear. See, when you hear people talking about ghost orders that start themselves, I don't know whether it's people closing that and they open by themselves and they haven't noticed. Which is why you have to have those, you have to have that on your screen, really. You've got to have it in your eye view just to check. So first thing, I always check when a trade closed down that it's closed down in Rhythmic. Doesn't matter what it says in NinjaTrader, that it's closed in Rhythmic. Obviously, these will be red when the trade's alive, and then when the trade closes, each one of them will be greyed out. That's the important thing. Doesn't matter what NinjaTrader says. But if it does show it in NinjaTrader, don't click close, just disconnect and reconnect. And you'll be right. So, there is possibly likely some longs trap there. So there's a lower high, possible failure. But I'm not going to make the same mistake, because at the moment price is above the EMA and it could continue up. After that overshoot, it could turn into an all-out reversal. It can do a bunch of things, really. Sometimes it'll reverse, sometimes it doesn't often go a full-out reversal, but a lot of the times we'll get a steeper correction and you'll still get a new low. Sometimes you get a breakout this side and opposite one that end, and it'll carry on. Sometimes it'll break, pull back in, come down straight away, make a new low, and then reverse. So it tends to do a bunch of things. Most of you know that, but there's probably some that may don't. That's why whenever we get an overshoot, first thing I do is avoid going short until I'm convinced that we are continuing back down. So channel down, lag. Looking on the NQ now. It's just congested. It may come down, it may not. Whoa. A quick move there. There's no news, is there? I don't think. No. Second entry long. No, I didn't, mate, to be fair. I mean, in all honesty, I think the simple answer is, and I know I've done it myself, but when the market's clearly working down, longs probably aren't the best option. Now, it is working individually in little bits at the moment. But yeah, I think you've got to be wary about longs. It did work, but in all honesty, when it comes to setup, it's not a good one, is it? It's a bit congested. So, I mean, look, it may trigger you and then come down and have a break. FM split. Okay, so that might be a little bit why we had that little bit of volatility there. But yeah, it's one of those things there. It's clearly sideways. So the sensible, not only is it sideways, it's touched the EMA and pushed up. So we've already had a move, so it could trigger you. New high or whatever, little channel. So it could be two separate legs. Try go once, try go twice, tricking some longs, it could come down. We could have a break and it may go up or it may come back down. It could do a bunch of things, but it's unclear at the moment. And when I'm in this kind of sensible mood, I stay out of these, and then for some reason, well, I seem to get that little bit of weakness. Well, probably weakness isn't probably the most supportive word, but when I get that little moment of lapse, let's call it, for some reason, my patience seems to take a little bit of a dent. But I think if you're aware of it, I think it is important. I saw a trader talking about he does a self-assessment periodically throughout his day, maybe every 20 minutes. He just sort of goes from head to toe. How do I feel? You know, am I tense? Am I grinding my teeth? You know, do I feel relaxed? Do I feel impatient? Do I feel frustrated? And he does this little self-assessment of his sort of health and well-being periodically, and it helps to identify things that may be happening because your concentration so far. When people meditate, it kind of brings you into the moment, really, doesn't it? But with trading, you're that focused on something completely different. You're not necessarily aware of how you may be feeling. Have you tried following that Jared Advocates? Oh, does he really? Let me take a photo of that. Jared rings a bell. The surname doesn't. I'll have a look at that. But I think we all know how your mood affects trading. In fact, I had a message from a guy we chat to for a couple of years, and he sent me an email over the weekend and said he snores a lot. And his wife talked him into going to the doctors. He went to the doctors and he did one of these like sleep studies. And they noticed that I think every, 15 or 20 minutes, he was stopping breathing for a short period of time. And it was affecting his sleep. And he found he was waking up from, 8 hours of sleep, feeling absolutely knackered. And he said when he got one of these CPAP machines, not that I would probably relish going to bed in one of those, but if it is, it is. But and found out he was getting much better sleep, and it made his trading improve. Try reading The Mental Game of Trading. I think I may have read it. Mental Game of Trading. I've read so many books, and sometimes the more books you read, you get this mixture of all sorts of bits of different information that might not be evidently clear, but. Let me just have a look at my Audible. I like listening to audiobooks, I do. Some I'll read, some. So at the moment in my library, I've got The Intelligent Investor, Economics in One Lesson. I don't know why I got that. Debbie does. Oh no, that's a different story. No. Okay, there we go. The Mental Game of Trading. By Jared. That's it, I think. Let me have a look.
Friends agree with you.
That's it. Where is it? Yeah. Let's just have a look. Yeah. Yeah, the mental game of trading. Jared Tendler, MS, whatever that means. Okay, you've just given me some homework for the weekend. I'll keep that on my front and read that or listen to that over the weekend. But I've got The Psychology of Money. Let's have a look. I did delete some. I had tons of them that I've read. I've got Forex Trading, the Bible, 5 books in one, Forex Trading. That's how I sort of started. Beginner's Guide to Stock Market, everything you need to know. Stock Market Investors, Beginner Guide. Trading Bible for Beginners, 6 books in one. I Can Make You Confident, Paul McKenna. But yeah, I did have a bunch more. What's its books as well, I've read. He's sadly not with us anymore. Trading the Zone, there we go, Mark Douglas. So I have read a bunch, but I can't remember. It may have been one that I've got, this mental game of trading, that sometimes you listen to them a little bit, you start, and then other things, very good. Yeah, okay, excellent. I've got that. I'm going to take a screenshot of it, and I'm going to listen to that in bed tonight. Thanks for that. I think it's always good to anything that helps with trading or the psychological side. I always listen to. I'm never that important that I can't listen to any single person that messages me or gives me sort of help or advice or tips. As far as I'm concerned, this is something I desperately want to do, and it doesn't matter who or where it comes from. If it's of interest to me and I think it might help, you have to pay attention to it. Some people will go, oh, yeah, I know how to do it. I know I have these moments. I'm not that person. I think I'm a little fish in a big pond. Yes, I've gained some skills. Yes, I've gained some experience. But I would consider myself just starting into that intermediate level where I've now got some skills, and now my trading needs to start. I need to start growing up as a person and trying to mature as a trader and getting away from that silly beginner stuff that I shouldn't really be making. I need to start listening to my own advice, I think, because I can talk the talk, but sometimes I have an issue with walking the walk. People have said to me, you want to treat it as a business, and I've thought about that quite a few times, but whether I actually have, I'm not really sure. But I am my own worst critic, and I think it's always useful to have that trait. Never think you're too good for this or you're too good for that. I think if you can have that attitude, I think it'll help you. But I do seem to have an issue when it comes to discipline. I think sometimes I have the best discipline in the world, but other times it seems to just disappear for some reason, and I can't quite put my finger on why. Which is why I made it a point to mention that self-assessment thing. He does it every 20 minutes. Whenever he thinks about it, and he says it takes him seconds, I just think about, because, it's like meditation, isn't it? You come back to the moment. But when you're focused on trading, you're that focused, you're not necessarily thinking how you're feeling. I'm looking at the picture. I'm not thinking, am I patient enough to take this? Am I trying to rush to take it? Is it a good setup? Am I in a rush to make money? Am I behind and I'm trying to, I try and avoid that. I've made that money back now. I'm not trying to think about how much I'm making day by day. If I take a $500 loss, I'm trying not to have that thought process of, I want to try and make it back. I think it's kind of good for me to think about, it's not my money till the end of the month. Then maybe at the end of the month, I can look and say, okay, I've made X amount this month, $3,000 this month. I can pay myself $500 or whatever. So I'm trying not to think about getting back losses. Some people say I've recovered my losses. I think it's toxic to think like that from a personal point of view. Because I think if you're trying to get something back, thanks, Tony, I'll just add your message. I think if you're trying to get it back, you're trying to squeeze it back. And I think that can be, I think if you take a loss, you need to think it's a business expense, forget it, move on. Let's have a look. This is an example of the exercise that will help with a C game problem. I'm assuming there's a bit more coming there, is there, bud? I've just got that at the moment, but yeah, I think it's important to do a little self-assessment and just think, because they do say if you're not in a good mood or something's not right, don't trade for the day. And I've kind of never took a trading day off because something doesn't feel right. I've had days where I don't feel right, but I've always traded. And I think really sometimes, sometimes if we're in a normal job that's not in trading, you feel a little bit under the weather, you just kind of go in, don't you? Because it doesn't really make a difference. But with trading, I think that there is a case for you can do yourself more harm than good. We don't want to miss a day because you want to make money, but ultimately you have to look at your whole being and saying, am I going to lose money today because I'm not in the best frame of mind? In which case, it's going to set me back. Normal jobs, if you have a bit of a headache, you didn't, feel well, you'd still go in. But I think if it's trading and something isn't right, I definitely think it's more important to maybe take a day off or take half a day off or finish early or whatever. Sent you a Word document, but it says send in. I'll give you my email address, mate, and you can send it that way if you can't find it. You probably know anyhow, but I'll give you it again. Okay, I've sent you an email address. If you can't get it through here, just drop it on there, but there we go. Yeah, and it is, it's kind of why people meditate, isn't it? To sort of get around, hey, bud, how you doing? Not too bad. I've had a few little hiccups like we do, but I'm, pushing through it, trying to make a few changes and trying to improve things. So I hope you're all right. That condition is sleep apnea. Yeah, absolutely. So now, some of you know I have a 16-year-old daughter who suffers from ADHD, and she's obviously a teenager, and she's hard work, as a lot of teenagers are. If I remember back to my teenage years, I'm pretty sure I put my mum through hell at times. And it does take it out on you. It is trying and testing, and it takes it out on your patients, and there is a lot of frustration, and there is a lot of worry. She misses a hell of a lot of school. It's been a nightmare to get her sort of treated. There's a big 3-year waiting list, so it's been a tough 3 years for her, and for me and her mum as well. And that makes trading more difficult. If you're turning up to work every day tired, frustrated, maybe a little bit snappy and impatient, it's only really going to go against you. So I think this self-assessment thing is a way of trying to keep your emotions in check. Not trading fast-track trading yet. I haven't yet. I did sign up to them, and I got an affiliate link. Sent. Oh, well done, mate. Cheers, buddy. But I haven't tried them yet. They're a bit more expensive, aren't they? I think there is an offer on the moment. I think 40%, 45%, but it's about $200, isn't it, at the moment? I'm just not financially able to just at the moment, but I will at some point. But yeah, I kind of like what they're about. I'm hoping that more companies, I know exactly what you're saying. I have a 4-year-old autistic nonverbal. Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, Kev. They do say she's on the spectrum for autism. You wouldn't necessarily know, because obviously I'm, if I think about autism, the first thing I think about is what was the film with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman? That's the first thing I think of autism, but there is a massive big spectrum that you can be on, isn't there? From some who might be more severe. You wouldn't necessarily notice, but she was assessed and they said they think there is some autism there. But it is worrying, isn't it? You know, you don't like seeing your kids. I mean, mine suffers from absolutely debilitating anxiety where she physically shakes. You know, a lot of the time. I know some of you remember my mum passing away about a year and a half ago. Now, my mum was a nurse for years. She was just great with Emily. You know, whenever she was having a tough day, like she phoned my mum. My mum was just the type of, like most of our mums, they just know what to say at the right time. And when she died, that had a big impact on her as well. And she went through a phase of, she still does it, she gets scared to go to sleep at night because she's worried she doesn't wake up. And when you see your kids like that and they're sobbing at night, it's heartbreaking. And it does take a lot of you. You know, you want to try and take it from them, don't you? But I do feel drained at times and frustrated. And you feel like the system, I don't know what it's like in the US, but I know in the UK, the National Health is on its arse. And you do feel a bit let down. You know, if I had bad anxiety and I went to the doctor, you know, I could get some treatment. The doctor could say, okay, well, I can give you a course of, you know, anti-anxiety meds or something like that. And, you know, that's how the kind of world works. But they can't do that with kids. You're in Ireland. I got you, yeah. Don't assume to be very different than, right, yeah. So we took her to the doctor a bunch of times. The doctor said, we cannot prescribe her any anti-anxiety meds. And I'm thinking, she's 16 now, my 15-year-old daughter is at night scared to go to sleep, physically shaking. And you're telling me you can't give her nothing? No, she has to go through a department called BU. And the waiting list is between 3 and 7 years. It's crazy. You know what I mean? That kids are going to wait. I'm sorry, but I think kids should come first. You know, adults should be second. But I'm saying now, if I couldn't go to work because my anxiety was that bad, you would prescribe me some medication. I'll be back to work within a couple of weeks. She has missed the best part of 3 years at school because she can't stop physically shaking, and they'll do nothing about it. It's just so damn frustrating. So it's probably no wonder this trading business is taking a little bit longer than I thought it might be. But yeah, it is frustrating. You know, there's nothing worse than seeing your kids physically shake. And when I'm trading, sometimes every time I go, excuse me a minute, she's in, and you know she's having palpitations until you can feel it like it's going to pop out of her chest, and she's worried about this, worried about that, and it is hard. You know, when you see your kids like that. So there is a lack of sleep because she's worried about going to sleep at night. Sometimes she's up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and because of the sort of the ADHD, she wants to talk. So, you know, sometimes 2, 3, 4 in the morning, I'm up sort of trying to calm her down, and my wife has to get up for work in the morning. So, you know, I mean, it's useful that I'm able to stay at home at the moment. I get this bit of money from the affiliate links, which is enough to cover majority of I'll be honest with you, I tend to get around about the $1,200 to $1,500 a month from the affiliates, and it's really appreciated. But that enables me to have enough of a wage so that I can stay at home, helps me here for her, and also I have then the it's ideal really that I can sort of trade at home for 2-3 hours, and you know I'm just in the next room so I can, you know, be here and support her. But yeah, it is horrible to see kids like that. You know, it does. You know, you kind of always have that little bit of feel like something's hanging around your neck that you can't control. You want to try and take it away, but you know, and that just sort of frustrates you all the more. And then because of the state of the NHS, it's years. It's crazy. We've just managed to get an appointment, and she's been on the waiting list for 3 years. But yeah, it is frustrating. Have you heard of the carnivore diet? Yes, I have. I'm currently on it. It helps both. Yes, I have tried it, bud. I'm about 16 stone at the moment. I have put a couple of stone on. I mean, I'm fairly sort of big built anyway, but yes, I have. I've tried it a couple of times. I may need to go on and adapt it, but I absolutely never thought I would get sick of eating steak. And I don't know about you, but I cook steaks in the air fryer, and my wife is saying it stinks the house, and it does. It's strange. You'd never think I did it on and off for a couple of weeks, and yeah, it does help you sleep better. I did that for a month. Hard on my son too, though he does chew food. I love to try him on that. I think there's as we sort of move through life, things change, don't they? New information. I did remove gluten and lactose to the diet. Yeah, I think there's a lot about that. Nutrition is something that I've had a bit of an interest on and off, over the few years, and I think from what I gather, most people suffer to a degree with gluten and lactose. Obviously, gluten in bread, especially things like white flour and that. As a bread maker, I was a chef for years, so I make a lot of bread. Sourdough, I think, is what I make regularly most days. It's much better for you, but ultimately it's still made with white flour. Mine is. But yeah, I think it takes its toll on your guts, doesn't it? I think, for want of a better word. But things change as we, I remember years ago, they used to say how bad butter was for you and how bad fat was, and then everything went fat-free, and when they took out fat, they replaced it with sugar. And as we know, in fact, I heard, what was he? He was kind of he was a professor in nutrition, and he said you'd be better off giving your kids pure heroin because pure heroin won't kill them. It's a bit of an odd statement, but when you think about it, what's heroin? It comes from a plant and it's like a powder, isn't it? What's cocaine? Comes from a plant and it's a powder. What's sugar? Comes from a plant, it's processed and it's a powder. So when you think about it like that, yeah, I've seen him, that Anthony Schaefer. I've seen a few because he's built well, isn't he? He's quite muscular. I saw. I've seen a few interviews with him. He's an Australian guy, isn't he? And he's been doing it for years, and he's a professor, isn't he, or some high out doctor. But yeah, he's. I mean, the guy, he's like an athlete. He's got a sort of like I don't know, kind of a boxer type physique. He's quite muscular, and he's been living off. I think all he eats is beef. That's it. That's all he eats is beef and water. And if we were to believe everything we told, you wouldn't last very long doing that. But Sean Baker's another one as well, yeah. And who's the other guy? He does a web thing. He's from the south somewhere, from southern. He's got a southern accent. He's got a goatee. I watch him a bit. Leg down, 2 attempts push up. That's interesting. Who's the guy I'm thinking of? He's a doctor. He's got a really southern accent like Max. And he's been doing it for years as well. But yeah, I absolutely agree. Ken Barry, yeah. I think things are changing. I mean, if you go back, a few hundred years, whatever, doctor, yeah. If you go back a few hundred years, what were we eating? I suppose, you'd have a goat, wouldn't you, where you got your sort of milk. You'd have some chickens that you maybe eat. You might slaughter a bit of cattle or a pig or a goat and you'd eat meat. You may have a few little bits of greens or berries that you pick off the land. But I never realised things like apples, the way we eat them now, never existed. They were always those small crab apples, sour things. I didn't realise bananas never existed. Bananas were manufactured in labs, and pineapples never existed. Grapefruits never existed. They were all sort of hybridized with different fruits, and what do? They sort of design them so they're full of sugar, so we keep eating more of them. But we'd have that type of diet. We'd have raw milk from your goat or whatever, and we'd eat a bit of meat. We'd fill our bellies, and then we wouldn't eat for a few days. Jordan Peterson, I recognise his name. He's carnivore too, yeah. You definitely, what I found is once I did it for a week, I could go all day without even thinking about food, and then 6 o'clock I'd get hungry. But I was buying these, they're like 2 for £8 steaks from Asda, I think, our local Asda. This is interesting. Got a break, 2 pushes up to a new high with a bearish bar. Yeah, the ribeye ones, and I just got so sick of the taste of beef. It was unreal. Thomas Wade's in long gear. Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm not so sure about that. 1, 2, 3. It's a triple test break. 2 attempts to push high. If that closes below here, he'll get stopped out there. I'm not saying it will. If you can go fish port, yes. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, if you get a leg of lamb that's roasted, there's nothing nicer. I could lap that stuff up all day. But for some reason, I just got so sick of beef. You know, I'd buy the 20% minced beef steak and I'd make some like burgers with it, and I found I couldn't eat them. So I stopped it, but I might have a go back actually. But yeah, I think if you can get sugar out your life, you're going to live a lot happier and a lot longer. That's for certain. Right, I think that is going to get stopped out. We've got a break, 1 attempt to go higher, 2nd attempt to go higher. We know the overall trend is down at the moment, so even though we've had an overshoot, I still think it's more likely we come down and test the lows. So I think that was a risky trade. Not only was it risky, it's bloody big, wasn't it? Where did he get in? Okay, lucky for him, he got in on a limit order down here, so he must have got in here. I'm not saying it's not going to go up, but now that is a better call, but it hasn't dropped below there. But there is kind of working up. There's a lot of liquidity there.
Order submitted.
Trouble is, do I want to... I'd rather get out there. It's more of a failure. So now this pushed up and done that and pushed up, I think that's probably pretty good. So I don't want to wait too long to get out though. Liquidity there. Come on.
Target filled.
Okay, that worked. 175. Okay, so that worked. Let me have a look. So it was a break. It was a higher low. He did manage to get in. He got in there. When that came down and started to push up, and it didn't break below that EMA, I'm thinking, yeah, okay. And it's kind of like a failure in a way. I'd have preferred it to trigger that. Channel could be wider. It could be wider, yeah. So that worked out for 175. So 0.75. I didn't want to wait right till the top, although it's broken the top. I think when you've had some losses, I think it's important to get a score on the board. So I got in here on a limit order for that one. That's what I consider that as. So I took that around about here. Let me have a look at Thomas's charts. So that. Okay, yeah, see, he got in that here, so he did really well there to get in. That's what I mean. Thomas is quite patient. I need to start thinking now. Ordinarily, a lot of times I'd jump in there, but he had the foresight to see that thing. I like that. Let's put an order in back in. It picked his order up and he's out and done and dusted. So, it's not trying to be smart. Not trying to be smart or the best trader, but it seems to me that you cut your winners too short and let your losers run. Well, it's funny you should say that, bud. I was talking about it the other day, and I watched an experienced trader, and he said, one thing I noticed that I used to do and inexperienced traders do is whenever they get into a trade that goes against them, what do? They move their stop. So they risk even more And when they get into a trade that starts to go in their favour, first thing they're doing is grabbing their stop and thinking, oh, let's get a bit quick. So that's exactly what you said. I mentioned that earlier in the week. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I got out there. So let's find out exactly where I got in and where I got out. I got out there. Now, ordinarily, if you took a trade or Mac took a trade here, you would want to be out before the highs. And the highs are there. Now, there's some liquidity here and maybe here. So I got out there a few ticks before the high. Now, it went up a bit more, but look at it now, see. It's actually got up, made a new high. So sometimes if you hold on too much, it can come against you. Now, I think there's a time to hold on and a time to not hold on. But when we're quite close to tops, that's where I get a little bit kind of wary of it. Do you know what I mean? There's another failure here. So that's why, and not only that, because I've had a few losses, I kind of want to get, yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah. I absolutely agree, mate. I think you're right. Approach the overnight, look, we are approaching the overnight lows. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, we are, aren't we? Overnight lows are here. We know that can, are they here? Yes, overnight lows are here. No, Kev, I absolutely agree, mate. I know I'm bad for that. And the trouble is, if you're risking the same amount on every trade, you can work out by how many trades you win, how profitable you can be. But the only way to do that is to take your trade and hold your trade for the full position. And that's what I haven't been doing. So I kind of know that. But part of the reason I got out there is because I thought, now at the moment I'm going for 3 points and I got out for 0.75. So I was $125 short and it would have worked like in most cases. But when you've blown some accounts and you had a big loss yesterday that stumped me, you kind of want to get in on the board and get a bit. So I know exactly what you're saying, but that's the reason so let's see. That would have worked for the 3 points, and I think I need to just take it and trust it. So that's where I got in. I say a limit order. It was actually a little bit higher, wasn't it? But I like this bar pushing up. But if so we're there. So that would have just got my 3 points by a tick. So that's the trouble. If it had been a tick out and it would have come back and got me, that may have done me a little bit more mental damage than taking that, you know what I mean? And a Friday, but I know what you're saying. In an ideal world, that's what I need to be doing. I absolutely agree. But when you've had a bit of a dent that I've had over the last few days, sometimes it takes you a few days just to get back into it and you know, kind of make the right decisions. But yeah, I absolutely agree. If you're working out a strategy and you're working out a win, you know, target process, do I go for this points? Do I go for that points? And it works in your favour to do that. You have to allow each trade to go for your full potential. So if you say you're going to go for 3 points, and based on 3 points, it's an average of 1-to-1. If I win this percentage, if you're leaving your stop where it is, or possibly moving it, you're increasing your risk. But if you're not taking your full potential, you're decreasing your profits. So it goes against you even more. At least you can now have a chilled weekend. Yeah. What I hate is the most is have a bad Friday. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't bother me if I'm generally in a good place anyway. But at the moment, I can definitely see the value of, taking some profits. But you're absolutely right, Kevin, and I admit I'm a bugger for that. So there is a possible failure here. There's going to be some possible shorts there, but we are very close to this, and we do seem to be finding some support here. So I think going long here is probably not the best. Let me just remove this. It's not what did I get there? 3, yeah, 3 and 3/4. Sorry, 1 3/4 points. But yeah, I definitely need to get back doing things the right way. I take my winners short as well. I only go for 16 ticks on the NQ, but I don't move the stop loss no matter what. Yeah. I'm going to have a think about that over the weekend, because there is something in Guardian Angel Trader to stop you moving your... If I put my stop loss here on a long, I can move it in that direction, but it won't let me move it back. Now, the only downside I see at that at the moment is because we don't really know how much our signal... We can't set an ATM strategy for this particular... an ATM strategy for this particular strategy because we don't necessarily know how big our stop's going to be, which is why we give it an average, keep it out the way of price, and then slip it into place. Some traders might say, when it comes back to the line, I'll buy it here and I'll take 3 points, and you know, I'll put me stop 3 points and take me profit. You check stop loss. Yeah, I know how to do it, bud, but I'm just thinking the best way to do it, because I would have to change my ATM strategy at the moment is set for 3 points, 12 ticks. Now, if I take a trade here and my stop loss only comes down to here, I'm kind of defeating the object. So I need some time to be able to move it back a bit to lock it into place. And the only way to mitigate that is to give it a bigger stop initially. So if I do a 6 point stop, I really shouldn't be trading more than 6 points anyway. So if I change it to a 6 point stop, then, you know, that bar is what? That bar is 3.7, 3.75. So 4.75, 5.75. So my stop will probably be here. So when I open the trade there, my stop will be here, so then I can grab it, drag it into place and drop it. And then it won't let me move it back, only forward. So perhaps that's a better option. The only downside about having 6 ticks when you open the trade could shoot down, which in all fairness, no, I don't think I've ever seen happen anyway. I seem to recall something once a couple of years ago, but it's negligible. But if I'm moving 2 or 3 ticks, you'll soon get that back. So I think that's probably the best option then, to set my ATM strategy to 3 points profit, which is fixed, and a 6 point, sorry, I'm just looking at a setup here, and a 6 point stop, which then I can push forward into place and leave. There is a second entry long there, but it is a little bit congested and it's quite large. Break 1, 2 pushes up to a new high. Yeah, so taking a long here on the NQ is not advisable. Same here as well, it's getting a little bit congested. So yeah, I'm going to set that up for the weekend. So I'm going to start my ATM strategy at 6 points. So that then will give me that little bit of movement. And if I'm taking a trade at 6 points, I probably shouldn't be taking it anyway. So let's just see if there is something wider there. There may be. I'm not sure about the moment, because we've got a push up and then that really doesn't look very pretty at the moment. So yeah, that did work anyway. Channel with a break, push up. I left it initially, but when this came down, stopped at the EMA and started to push up, I jumped in about here. But that would have made 3 points. In fact, I think I put my stop there, so even with this pullback, the stop's still intact. So I'd have got 3 points there anyway. So the trouble is, I'm down now effectively $125. If I do this 3 times, I've actually bought myself a free loss effectively. So, and I would say 8 times out of 10, if I come out early, it goes on to make the 3 points. In fact, 9 times out of 10, I'd say so. It is something I have to get used to doing, but if you take a good enough setup, there shouldn't be no problem anyway. As I say, that did work, but Thomas Wade did put it on a limit order, so if you'd have got it there, you would have got it more comfortably. So there's some things, I like having these chats because it, you know, you get ideas and you talk through scenarios. Helps you. So I'm getting rid of this over the weekend so I can't click the buy or sell. I think sometimes if you click those buy sells, you're probably trading a little bit too much on emotions. So I'm going to get rid of those. As we know, they're easy. Just click that and click hide. Or off, rather. So the only way to take a trade is to right-click. Click buy. So that gives you about an extra 1.5 seconds of time just to think. So that's something to do. And to lock those stops off as well. Set my ATM strategy to 6 points for the stop. And then that way I shouldn't have any issues with locking it. Occasionally I give it an extra tick. But I can't remember the last time when that made a difference. And if you give it an extra tick every time, 10 trades, you've lost $250. And if it's going to come down and hit your stop, chances are, see, if just thinking about that trade yesterday, if I'd have actually added a little bit further up, it might not have done so much damage. But so yeah, so however you took this, you comfortably got your points. Yeah, there's no point in leaving my stop there or even giving it a bit of extra space if I'm going to shortchange myself on my profit. So at least we're nice and green for the week. So all in all, $200. I did get out for a tick earlier, so $184 per account. So, and also I got about $300 on the what's it as well, my funded future. So that's done okay, actually. That's got us back into striking distance. So another trade in a bit, and those accounts will start to get above 50,000, start to grow there. So happy days. Doesn't matter where your stop is with slippage, it's first in. Yeah, no, what I mean is I often wondered why put it a tick. Why don't I just put my stop there? Now, most traders will have their stop there. So if I put mine there, chances are I'm going to be out first. You know what I mean? If it hits that area before it hits a tick below. Now, it's rare. I can't remember a time recently where it's come back down to there but hasn't stopped me out. It very rarely happens. So I'm wondering whether I'm best off, instead of doing that, just to put it at the close. At least every losing trade I take, it'll save me $25. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, it's very rare it comes down and bounces off that, but doesn't stop it out. And the beauty is, if we do get a quick move, I'll get taken out before the guy who's got his stop one tick below there. So I have to just set and forget. I think the only call for getting out sometimes is maybe if it starts to go very sideways, that it's still readable. But if it absolutely starts to get unreadable, like something like this, once it starts doing this, this means that you find a little bit of uncertainty, so that might be an option to get out for break even or somewhere about there. But I don't know, sometimes if it's a strong enough trade, even if we get some of that congestion, it'll still work. Yeah. I mean, you can go through. I can go through old trades and just find out rather than back testing it, so to speak. But I just look for. I mean, I keep everything, every trade I've ever taken, more or less. There you go. Going back to, let's have a look. That's every chart. Going back to July 2021. Well, I did trade before that, but I never started saving it, so I can always flick back and find out. So it's useful to have those. Oh, shit. I've lost my ninja. Have I shut it down or just... I've closed it down. Excuse me one second. I'm just going to have to reboot Ninja Trader. It's not going to save anything, unfortunately, isn't it? So if I click it down, do you want to save? No. So if I reopen it now, it should get back to where it was. Should put that chart back, I think. I'll think about done anyway. We've been going for 2 hours and 55 minutes. Yeah, I'm up. That's where I want to be. Means I've got to open everything up again, but there's no point now anyway. I'm not going to do that now. So yeah, okay. So there you go, folks. Everything's disappeared, but I actually shut my chart down for some odd reason. But there you go. So yeah, you can just go back over your old charts and figure stuff out. But yeah, channel, maybe a break, maybe whatever. But I think this may go up now. But there you go. That's me done for the day. So important I had a little win. It would have made the 3 points. And perhaps in a perfect world, I should have done it. But because it's been a rocky couple of days, I just decided to take something and give me that little bit of mental clarity over the weekend. But I've got a few changes to make. Entering that stop protection thing in Guardian Angel Trader, that's one. And a few things. You sent me that page to look at, Tony, haven't you? So I'm going to have a nose at that. And also that book as well. I took a screenshot of that. I usually flick me photos now and again, so I'll look into that later. I'm going to have a listen to that when I go to bed tonight. So look, I appreciate all the comments. I love having a chat with you guys. I consider you guys as my work colleagues. There's nothing worse than sitting in a room by yourself, but it is nice to have a chance to sort of bounce ideas, and it's nice to share the misery. It's nice to get some ideas and chit chat and help each other out. It's not competitive, this business. It doesn't matter whether I do great or whether you do bad or whatever. It doesn't affect any of us. So it is nice to have that little bit of support for each other. Makes life a bit less easier. It's called mental hand history. Mental hand history. Interesting. Okay. I'll leave you guys to it. If you're carrying on trading, best of luck. Failing that, have a great weekend. Take it easy. Stay safe. And I'll be back on Monday, and hopefully we'll have a nice rested weekend and we'll be in the right frame of mind. I do enjoy the weekends now. I do try and do something relaxing, so I might go and sit on the riverbank for a couple of hours, maybe on Sunday, and get a little bit of chilling out time. So have a great weekend, stay safe, and I'll see you all. We'll have a chat on Monday. Bye for now.